The Brooklyn Nets have a serious flaw that might end up keeping them from winning an NBA championship, and it's not just injuries. Hey yo, what's good with y'all? My name is Will and welcome back to Will Soldier Hoops. In this video, I'll be talking about the Brooklyn Nets and how they could end up facing some big problems in these upcoming playoffs. Let's get into it. As soon as the Nets got James Harden, the vast majority of NBA fans had already penciled in the Brooklyn Nets as the 2021 NBA champions. On paper, you can't blame them because that's three of the best scorers in the NBA right now, two top 10 scorers in the history of the game. But the thing is, basketball is not played on paper, it's played on the hardwood, and through my 10 plus years of watching basketball, I know that crazy shit can happen on the hardwood. When it comes down to it in the playoffs, it becomes less about who you have and more about the matchups and adjustments. It becomes a chess match of teams trying to take advantage of each other's weaknesses to gain an advantage. Just because a team is more talented than another and stacked with star power doesn't always mean that they easily make it to the finals and win. For example, the KD Warriors went to 7 games with the Houston Rockets in 2018 and could have even lost there if not for CP3 getting injured. The Big Three Miami Heat not only lost in their first year in the finals, but they also went to 7 games with Boston the next year, 7 games with the Pacers the next, and 7 games in the 2013 NBA Finals. The point I'm making is, yes, star power can be crucial and win you championships, but it's not always as easy as people make it out to be. Because at the end of the day, in the playoffs, it's bigger than just who has more star power. That star power has to go out there and execute the game plan with the coaching staff making the right game plan. And in a minute, I'll tell you exactly why I'm a little worried about the Brooklyn Nets when it comes to this chess match that the NBA playoffs is. But let me address these injuries. They've struck many teams already this season, but no contending teams have had it worse than Brooklyn and the Lakers. If I'm not mistaken, the Nets' Big Three has only played in 7 games together, winning 6 of those 7. KD's caught injuries, Kyrie's caught injuries, and even James Harden got injured too. For KD and Kyrie, it's nothing major to keep them out the entire season, but James Harden's injury is a little bit more serious than we thought before. Right now, the biggest threat to the Brooklyn Nets seems to be their own guys getting hurt. This team being healthy going into the playoffs and progressing through the playoffs has legitimately become a question mark. But even if they do stay healthy the whole way, they've got another issue that could stop them short of an LOB: interior defense. If there's any era where a team can get away with this being their biggest weakness, it's this era. Help defense can counter this if you play it right, but it's too difficult to not have this exploited into the fucking oblivion in a 7-game series with the dominant paint force. And this goes right back to what I said about matchups being important in the playoff setting. What is Brooklyn going to do if they have to take on a team that has an absolute force in the paint? Can the first-year coach Steve Nash even come up with a functional game plan to stop them? Because the Nets will have to meet up against either one or even 2 of these guys in the East: Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. Both the 76ers and the Bucks are different teams this year than they were last year. Both have improved spacing for their interior beast, adding better shooters to the lineup. And while we're at it, let's take a look back at the last 2 playoff losses that the Milwaukee Bucks have taken. Both were awful matchups for them because they had long defenders that could build a wall against Giannis. The Raptors had Kawhi, Siakam, Ibaka, and Gasol. The Heat had Butler, Crowder, and Bam. Personnel is important to build this wall because we saw the Celtics try it back in their 2019 series and they failed to contain Giannis. Now tell me, who is going to build that wall for the Brooklyn Nets? I like Kevin Durant, but he started to decline more defensively since those Warrior days. DeAndre Jordan, Nick Claxton, Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, that's not even comparable to the tools that Miami and Toronto had that slowed down Giannis. Not to mention the game plan these teams used was more than just a wall, but they also exploited Eric Bledsoe's bad shooting in half-court sets, and you can't do that on Jrue Holiday. The Nets won't be able to replicate the same defensive game plan the Heat and the Raptors came with for those exact reasons. And hold up, if you're enjoying the video and you haven't liked the video yet, it would be very appreciated if you could do so, and also feel free to subscribe. I post 3 NBA videos a week with great analysis. It's better than the shit you're gonna get on ESPN. But getting back to it, it would be dumb not to look at this both ways because Milwaukee has a hole that Brooklyn can exploit too. And that hole is Brook Lopez being incredibly slow. Draw him outside outside on a pick and roll with James Harden, that's barbecue chicken. And now the Bucks have to make an adjustment, and you see what I'm saying here. The playoffs are all about who can exploit the opposition's weaknesses the most. And the Brooklyn Nets just so happen to have a very exploitable weakness against certain teams that match up well against them. And Milwaukee is one of those teams that match up well on both ends actually. Because Giannis can be the primary defender on Durant, Holiday can be the primary defender on Harden, and Middleton can be the primary defender on Kyrie. What other team besides Miami can say that they have those defensive matchups set right now that they can actually have some confidence in that it might work? Milwaukee's only exploitable weakness defensively is Brook Lopez being drawn outside of 10 feet. From there, they can pick things apart and try breaking the defensive rotations. But on the other end, Milwaukee can exploit their weakness as well. This could be an absolute banger of a playoff series. Both teams have a chance of coming out victorious, just as long as Mike Budenholzer doesn't fuck things up again. Philly vs Brooklyn could also be a really interesting matchup, especially since Embiid can't be abused defensively in the same way as Lopez. Embiid does an excellent job with hedging screens, allowing guys to get back into position, whether that's Matisse Thybulle or even George Hill. But that's when I think the star power will show the most is in this series, because if Irving or Durant get a split second to pull a shot, they very well can do that before the primary defender recovers. All I want is a series between either the Nets and the Bucks, or Nets and 76ers, or both, with all teams at peak health and performance. This year's playoffs can be special. But that's it for this video. If you could drop a like, it would be very appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more banger basketball content. Here's another 2 videos I've made, so check out one of those if you are interested. But I'm out of here, and remember, keep on hooping.